Let's understand let and const keywords. The let keyword is used to create or declare variables. You can declare a variable like this, like let space count equals to 10. That means here you are creating a variable by name count and assigning value 10. Or you can declare a variable like this and assign value later also. So in the first line we are creating count variable, and in the next line we are assigning value 10 to the variable count. And the next point we need to note in case of let keyword is that once you declare a variable using let or using let, you cannot declare the same variable again using where keyword. As we can see in this example, in the first line we are creating a variable by name count and assigning value 50. In the next line, using where, we are trying to create another variable with the same name count and assigning value 20. So this is not correct. This is not supported by JavaScript. In earlier version, using where, it was means JavaScript was allowing us to create variables by same name multiple times, but when you use let to create a variable, you cannot create another variable with the same name, either using let or using where. The next important thing that we need to notice is that a variable declared at a global level using let can be declared again using let only inside a block. As we can see here, we have declared variable num at global level, and again in the below block we are declaring variable by name num and assigning value 10. So this is allowed by JavaScript. This is allowed by JavaScript or ES6. If we define like this, the num variable that is created inside the block, so that is available, or that effect will be only up to that block. So this kind of assignment is allowed. And let is block scope. That means if you declare a variable by using let inside a block, that particular variable scope will be limited to that block. As we can see in this example, the highlighted block, in this highlighted block we have created num variable and assigned value 10 to it. So the num variable will have 10 only inside that highlighted block. Outside the highlighted block, the num variable will have value which is 15. So that's why we call let variables as block scope. Means let variable will have a scope which is limited to the block. Next is const. The const keyword is used to create constants. We can create constants using keyword like this: const space and constant name, and we have to assign value. And a constant can be assigned only during declaration. That means you can assign value while you are declaring the variable, while you are declaring the constant only. So once you declare a constant like this, you cannot assign a value like this as shown in this below example. So in this below example, we are trying to create a constant num and then trying to assign value in the next line. So that is not supported by ES6. So the first line is correct. That means while declaring a constant itself, we have to assign value. But you cannot declare a constant in one line and then assign value in another line. That's not supported by ES6. And similar to let keyword, a constant with the same name can be declared inside another block. So if we see here, we have declared a global level constant and assigned value 15. The same means another constant has been created with the same name num and assigned value 10. So the the constant that is declared inside the block, so that is limited to that block. That effect will not be outside the block. That means inside this block, the num constant value will have 10. Outside the block, the num will have value 15. So this way you can declare constants with the same name inside another block. And as we have seen till now, the const also has block scope. That means once you declare a constant inside a block, so that effect will be only up to that block. Outside the block, it will have no effect. And the next most important thing that we need to notice is that generally we say that in case of constant, we have to assign value during declaration and then we cannot change constant value, but that is not completely true. So in case of normal integer or double, such kind of scenarios, in such cases, obviously while creating constant itself you will assign and you cannot change that constant later. But when you go with objects or arrays, in such cases, while declaring an array as a constant, you will assign some array to it. Afterwards, you cannot assign array to that constant again, but you can change the values of the array that has been assigned to that constant variable. Let us see that one in the example. For example, if we see here, while declaring a num array constant here, we have assigned an array with 3 values, 15, 20 and 30. And if we see in the next line, what we are doing, we are changing the value of first index element by using num of 1 equals to 25. That means after executing this line, the array will have values 15, 25 and 30. So this kind of operations can be performed on constant arrays or constant objects. Again, I repeat, constant arrays can be altered. Constant objects also can be altered, but we cannot reassign any new value to the constants. That's what we need to notice here. And now let's see whatever we have discussed in action. So for that purpose, I think we can stop this presentation and let's go to W3 schools, where we have editor which is very user friendly. And what you can do is, if you go to W3 schools, or let us say W3 schools, and from tutorials you can select JavaScript, and inside JavaScript, if you see here, you have JavaScript ES6. Where is that ES6? Yeah, JavaScript 2015 ES6. You can come here and then you can simply click try yourself. It will take you to an editor, an online editor. So by default it is giving this example. Okay, in this example, if we see here, we have taken let x equals to 10. That means here this x variable has been created and it is assigned 10. And inside this block scope, we have created another variable by name x, and here we are assigning the value 2 to x, and outside this we are simply assigning the value of x as inner HTML of this paragraph. If we execute, we will get value like this. That means whatever value we have in x, so that value we are displaying in this paragraph. So what we will do is that let us add a few more paragraphs, and let's give the maybe block scope. So we are taking the name as block scope for this paragraph, and then here we can change this one to above block, and same we can take as maybe below or after block. You can change this one to after. So now what we can do is, let us simply copy from here and paste it here. So, and here we'll take above block. Just to differentiate values, let us add some content above block. We are adding this string so that in the display we'll have clear markation, means we'll have clear view. And the same thing can be taken, and let us print here. We'll display in block scope. Inside block. And now let us take it from here. Otherwise it is already there. So let's simply take this ID after block. Okay, we don't need to save. And now we can take after block. Okay. So to explain, we are simply displaying the value before block, value inside, value of x inside block, and value of x outside or after the block. Now if we run, we can see that above block it has x has value 10, and inside block x has value 2, outside block or after the block value x value is again 10. That means we can clearly notice here that though we maintain same variable name inside a block, so that is not impacting the code which is present outside the block. That means outside the block logic will not be impacted with variable names that are present inside the block. So that happens only if we use the keyword let. But if we don't use the keyword, and if you use the traditional var keyword and execute, let us see what will happen. As we can see here, after the block also the impact is still there. That means the variable that has been declared inside the block, so this variable effect is present outside the block also. So because of this reason, so by mistake, if we take same variable as that of global variable and assign some value inside this block, so that will impact outside block as well. So to avoid such scenarios, we can go with let keyword. If you go with let keyword, obviously global logic or global variable will not be impacted by the variable that is declared inside block. So that is how let works. We can clearly notice that this variable's scope is only limited to this block. So this is how let works. Similarly, if we take const, the has to be small, and let us take const again. So now if we execute, still we see the same values. Why? Because here we are creating a constant by name x and assigning value 10. So the same value will be available after this block also, though you are declaring another constant by same name inside this block. Why? Because this const is also of block level. That means the scope of this constant x is only up to this block. So after this block, that will have no effect. That is the reason, or because of that reason, after the block, if we display the value of x, that is still 10, as you can notice here. So that is how const works. As we discussed, while declaring a constant itself, you have to assign value. If you try to do like this, if you declare a constant like this and try to assign value like this, x equals to 10, and execute, if you try to execute it, obviously you are not getting anything. If you want to see the details, we can say F12 developer tools. Okay, it clearly shows us that missing initializer in const declaration. This line clearly says that we are missing initializer in const declaration. Why? Because if you see these two lines, we are declaring a constant but not assigning or not initializing that constant. That's why we are getting this error. So to correct that error, if you assign value directly here like this and delete the next line, and if you run, it works fine. Okay, so that is how const works. So in case of const, the most important thing that you need to remember is that while declaring a const itself, we have to initialize it. And let us initialize this const with an array of integers. For example, let us assign an integer array to this const with 10, 20 and 30. Okay, and now we don't need this one. We can simply remove this. If you execute, at all three levels, we are getting 10, 20 and 30. Okay, so it works fine. Const is working fine. Now let's change the value of the first item, or item which is present in the first index. You can do that one by using x of 1 equals to 25. So the main important thing that you need to notice is that here x is a constant array, but that constant array we are altering, means the first index item value we are changing to 25. Let's execute and see. As we can clearly see that we have values 10 and the first index item has been changed from 20 to 25. So this way you can alter const arrays. You can do the same with constant objects as well. But if you try to assign some x equals to with different values 30, 40, 50, in this case it gives problem. That means you cannot assign a new array to constant or array constant. If you run, it will not work. Why? Because this kind of assignment is not supported in case of constant. If you delete this line and then execute, it works fine. So this is how both LET and const keywords work in ES6. I hope this one helps. Thank you.